Hey everyone, it's Mike. Today is Wednesday, March 29th, 2017, and spring has kind of sprung. We're waiting for it to sprung a little more. Yeah, just waiting. That's what this video is about. No talking, just waiting. Waiting for spring to sprung. No, that'd be pretty boring. Had you going though, didn't I? No, what I want to talk about today is, I know I had kind of declared a moratorium of sorts on politics and stuff. Kind of felt I was repeating myself, and I don't know, it's just gotten so divisive today. I mean, there's always been religious and political differences in the battle of the sexes and gender issues and all that, and it's always kind of been there, but I've never seen it so hateful and divisive and such rancor. I don't know, I just want to step back from that. It's not good energy. Bad karma, man. So, I almost think as a reaction to that, I've been dabbling in nostalgia a little bit. Does that make sense? Yearning or pining for a time where it wasn't so divisive. Listening to a lot of stuff from the 70s, watching a lot of... You get on YouTube, you can find music of any genre or era, and also like shows and specials, and you know, so I have, for the most part, I have very fond memories of the 70s. So I've been watching a lot of shows and documentaries about the 70s, or take place during the 70s, or old episodes of old shows from the 70s, and listen to music from the 70s. Just I think trying to distance myself from that bad energy. Which I don't think it's possible to completely, and I don't have an intentions of putting my head in a hole and ignoring it. But I also don't want to live in it either. So that's maybe that's where that's coming from. So the topic of today is music. I've got some incredible music going in my head right now. I dug up a couple of old albums, a few old albums from the past I hadn't listened to in an awful long time, and it's been so long since I've listened to them that it's actually fresh and enjoyable and exciting and invigorating to listen to them, and that was really nice. And I'll talk about those specific artists and albums here in a minute, but I want to make a few general comments about music. From what I can gather, just in my life experiences, that music is different things to different people, and I'll give you some examples of that. Growing up in my house, music was a big deal. Everyone in the family was a musician, and still is, for that matter, for the most part. And there were a lot of different genres of music being played, and it was a big deal. But as I look back on that, I see that my parents had very different understandings and experiences of music. And both of those made a big impression on me, and I'll give you the examples of that. My mother, for instance, music is very much about how it makes her feel. It stirs her soul way down deep, and it really touches her deep. And she likes to dance, and when she dances, you can kind of feel that vibe. It really stirs her down deep, and that's neat, because music certainly has that ability to convey emotion, to elicit emotion, to a good song to tell some kind of story, and whatever the emotion is in that story, to make you feel that. That's, a well-executed song will make you feel whatever the emotion is, whether it's a country song where my dog died and my pickup truck broke down. A good song will make you feel that. Likewise, a happy song or whatever other kind of song will make you feel that emotion. And that's a good quality in a song. And it's a good quality about music, that it can play your emotions like that. Conversely, there's also the technical side of music. The critical listen, I'll call it. My dad is all about the critical listen. And if there's one reason I'm a Rush fan, it's because of him. And that's a good thing. That's a compliment. He's all about the critical listen. And when I was a kid, I remember they had all different kind of music they were playing at the house, but he would sit there with Tchaikovsky or Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, or listening to the Four Seasons, or who knows what. But he'd always be pointing this and that out. Listen to that drum part. Listen to that thing they're doing on the horns. You check out that transition. See See how that time change? The chime change just switched right there. And what about what the guy's doing on the timpani? Constantly pointing stuff out, constantly a critical listen. And he liked music that was more progressive. Now these are Depression era people, so they weren't listening to what people of my generation would consider progressive. But he was all about the critical listen and the technical side of music, what goes into it as far as the musicianship. And in his day, he was a fairly accomplished musician. My dad was a drummer, and in his teens and early 20s, he gigged in some local bands, several at kind of the same time. He was kind of a pretty active guy with that. This would have been in like the late 40s and early 50s. But he understands music and music theory, and listens to music with that in mind, listening for things, details. And that rubbed off on me. He's the reason I play the drums, what little I do. And if I'm a critical listener of music, that's where that came from. And that's, Rush is all about the critical listen, but Rush is my favorite band. I've got tons of Rush fans, Rush fan buddies on Facebook. So when I talk about Rush, I assume that you know what I'm talking about, but not all of my friends are Rush fans. But Rush delivers in both of those areas, the emotional side and the technical side, because when a song is well executed, it'll be very technical, but whatever it is, whether you're listening to The Trees or some other song, you can feel it. You can feel what you can really feel the story that's being told. So that's the question I pose to you, is can you relate to either or both of those? I can relate to both of those. Both of those are a big part of my experience of music and my appreciation and enjoyment of it. Would you say you tend to lean more toward how it makes you feel, or to more of the critical listen, the technical side of it? There's also another dimension, and there are probably others too, but these are just the ones I can think of and I've noticed. There's also the nostalgia value of music. Now, growing up, like I said, music was a big deal and a lot of different styles of music were being played. My parents were kind of an interesting place as far as the timeline, because they were a little too old and a little too square for rock and roll, but they were also just young enough that they weren't freaked out by it. And the contemporary music they were listening to in the 70s, I think by progressive music enthusiasts, would be considered pretty darn square, and it is. I'm talking about ABBA and the Carpenters, and Wayne Newton and Helen Reddy and Tony Orlando and Don, and people like that. But the thing is, we were listening to that at home, and even though that kind of doesn't fit into my quote-unquote progressive music kind of leanings, I enjoy that. And I have to ask myself, well, that's kind of a statistical anomaly. Why is it that I enjoy that? That doesn't fit with my whole progressive leaning. And it's because of the nostalgia. It brings back wonderful memories. So I'll pose this as a question to you. Do you have music you listen to and get kind of a nostalgic value to it? Because I believe that music certainly has that ability, when you listen to songs from yesteryear, to bring up old feelings and memories and of what you were doing, who you were hanging out with, and just how you felt at the time. I find that to be a wonderful thing, and a great example of that is Christmas music. I think that has a lot to do with why I love Christmas music so much, especially all the songs from when I was a kid. Perry Como and Johnny Mathis and Bing Crosby and the Andrews Sisters. And I love that. It brings back so many memories. And another example, this is also kind of a statistical anomaly. People will probably laugh at me, and rightfully so, but I love disco from the late 70s. I was 12, 13, or 14 years old when that was raging on the radio, and I was eating that up. I'm not into dancing, I never was, then or now, but it just brings back a lot of good memories for me. Most of those memories of that music, for some reason, are about summer. So I associate disco not with dancing, but with summertime, and how enjoyable that is to be on vacation and hanging out with your friends and just all of that. That's my summertime soundtrack. I've got a mix I made of disco music. I listen to it in the summer a lot. It brings back a lot of memories, and to me, disco is, I get that disco is about dancing. I certainly have that association, but dancing isn't a big thing for me, so it's secondary. Disco to me is summertime music. Yeah, it makes me a freak. But what is your thought on that as far as the nostalgic value of music? So the other I think that's all I had on that. There were probably other aspects of music. If you can think of some, please share them with me. I'd love to hear your perspectives, because music is different things to different people, and music is a lot of things to me, and it may well be for you as well. It'd be interesting to hear your breakdown on it. I'm trying to unzip my jacket here. There we go. Having trouble. But those albums I've been listening to here the last couple of weeks, and also today, I dusted off some Bachman Turner Overdrive. Hadn't listened to that in a long time. Especially a lot of the older B-side stuff, and listening to like whole albums and stuff instead of the stuff that was on the radio. That was thoroughly enjoyable. One of the things I like about Bachman Turner Overdrive is they come off with that. They never lost that kind of garage band sound, and I like that. And I like that spirit of a garage band, because when you're in a garage band, you get a bunch of guys together, you're playing what you want to play, doing music as you see it and understand it, and want to make it happen. Second, you start trying to play gigs or record or get any kind of record deal, get yourself on the radio, then you have to start compromising it, and a lot of bands lose sight of what they were originally about and sell out. And selling out means different things to different people too, and I won't even get into that, but that's one of the things I like about BTO, is that it still has that garage band sound. You can tell they write the songs themselves. They've got some production around it, but it's not so overproduced that you can't feel the initial original creativity that came from the people who wrote it. So I like that about BTO. I like most of their songs, with the exception of Taking Care of Business. It's not a bad song. It's actually a very good song, but I've just become oversaturated with that song that I can't even take it anymore. Just heard it so many times. But the rest of their stuff, especially the stuff I hadn't heard in decades, was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I like Randy Bachman's voice. I think, isn't Randy Bachman the vocalist, or wasn't he? He's got a few different things he does with his vocals. He's got that kind of raspy sound, kind of real, almost like a growl going on, a real masculine growl, and then he can also do a kind of a lighter thing, almost like a Oliver Twist. Please, sir, can we have some more? It's almost like a little, an effeminate British thing. I can't explain it, but I recognize it when I hear it. He's got a few other things he does with his voice too. I like that. Good drumming, good guitar, good bass, good straight ahead rock. Not ultra technical or progressive, but just good straight ahead solid rock. And I like that. And then the other thing I pulled out today was Led Zeppelin 1 and 2, and boy, I hadn't listened to that in ages, and that was really enjoyable. That first track on Led Zeppelin 1, I always draw a blank on Led Zeppelin songs trying to name them. Oh, what the hell is the name of it? Good Times, Bad Times, I think it is, with that incredible drum beat. And how that whole album, there's a lot of little kind of jammy sessions where they're just kind of jamming, and they get into some weird kind of like dreamy, mystical kind of sections of songs that's really cool. I think that was, recreational drug use was a big deal, and rock and roll had a lot to do with that, and I think for people who were taking whatever they're taking, that's probably kind of neat to listen to that. The other thing I really like about Led Zeppelin is on some of the harder rocking stuff, there's this amazing swagger to their music, and I really like that. It's got a vibe about it that says, we're great musicians, we kick ass and we know it, and we're kicking your ass, and I really like that. A couple of examples would be, Good Times, Bad Times. Oh, just stepped in some deep slush. Another example on Led Zeppelin 2 would be Whole Lotta Love. Some parts of that had that swagger going. And then probably my favorite Zeppelin song would be, why do I draw a blank when I try to name Zeppelin songs? I always do that. Let me think. Livin', Lovin', Made. And there's a song that always follows it, Heartbreaker. That song just kicks ass. Those two songs, I always play them together, even on the radio. Those songs kick ass. I love the bass line during the verse of Livin', Lovin', Made. It's one of the best bass lines ever. And Bonham was an incredible drummer. Too bad he died so early. I think I would have liked to see what he could have done in his career. Not that what he did wasn't of substance. He did some amazing things, one of the greatest drummers ever. What I like about him that he was a very good technical player, but he really had a lot of feel. You listen to his drum parts and like you listen to the hi-hat, he's not just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. He's putting a lot of English on it. So in some of the songs like Good Times, Bad Times, he's got this extra little bounce on it. And there's kind of like when he's hitting the snare, it kind of hangs a little. He's putting a lot of feel in it. It's not just like a straight beat. And it really makes the music come alive. It breathes and it has character and it personality, and it really jumps out at you, and you can tell it's not just some other drummer. It's John Bonham, and that's amazing. And you can hear that in like Moby Dick, that drum solo in Moby Dick. And John Bonham was kind of the master and the king of the triplet. Even that thing you hear in Good Times, Bad Times, that thing off the bass drum and the hi-hat, that's a triplet move. He's just doing it off the triplet and the bass drum. And in Moby Dick, most of that solo is based around triplets. He's the king of triplets, and it's an amazing thing. I like triplets as a drummer. I'd like to be able to do a lot of the stuff he does with it. I mean, you can just sit there and do a triplet. But he got really creative with the things he was doing, the different drums and cymbals he was doing the triplet off of, and the variations of it, and the tempo, and just all that. Very creative using triplets. And as much as he used the triplets, and as I don't accuse him of overusing the triplet, because he was so creative with it, because he used the triplet a lot. I mean, that was the foundation of his drumming. He was all about the triplet. He was king triplet. But because he was so dynamic and so creative and innovative with it, I never listened to that stuff and say, oh, and they're playing a fucking triplet again. Get over the triplet. I've never done that with Led Zeppelin. And there's just parts of songs where it just the beat he's playing, it's not the beat he's playing, it's the way he's playing it that really makes the song come alive. Truly, once in a lifetime drummer, one of the greatest. So, I don't know, I'm kind of rambling on here. I guess that's it. What are your thoughts about music? What is it for you? Does it bring up feelings and emotions? Is it more of a technical, critical listen? Is it both? What about nostalgia? Is that a positive thing for you when you listen to music from yesteryear? Does that bring up positive emotions and memories? And is that enjoyable for you? Christmas music and songs from other decades, songs and genres that you might not even admit to enjoying because of the context. And I'll give you an example of that before I close. Years ago, I was working at a call center in Arizona, and there's this buddy that sat across from me, and we became pretty good friends. He was like in his late 20s, but he was in a band, he was a musician, and he was into he's very aware musically and into a lot of different genres, and we would talk music a lot. And he was aware of ABBA, and he didn't understand why I liked them. And we talked about that at some length, and the thing that I kept coming back to is you had to be there. That's the only way I can explain why I like ABBA, and it's embarrassing to say, but I like ABBA a lot. But like I told him, you had to be there. You really had to be there. I think listening to it out of context, as far as the timeline, depending what generation you are, if you're my generation or if someone likes progressive music or harder rock or whatever, you might do the old WTF, listen to that. But yeah, what do you think of ABBA? What are your shameful pleasures, guilty pleasures when you listen to music. What are genres or artists that you listen to that you might not admit to in certain circles? Yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And have yourself a great day. We'll see you on the other side.